Have you ever felt life breaking apart without reason, love turning to conflict, money slipping through your hands, health fading with no cause? It is as if an invisible force is pulling the strings, draining you silently. This is the hidden work of witchcraft, but there is one secret, simple yet unstoppable, that once awakened, breaks its grip instantly and restores strength, balance, and prosperity. Today, you will discover that secret. When we begin to speak about witchcraft, many people immediately imagine fire, rituals, strange symbols, or secret gatherings in the dark. But the truth is far more subtle and therefore far more dangerous. Witchcraft at its very core is nothing more than the manipulation of energy. It is the directed intention of one mind or one spirit, carrying a vibration so focused that it penetrates into the life of another. And energy, as you know, is everywhere. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take, releases energy into the world around you. If positive energy has the ability to heal, to inspire, to lift the spirit, then negative energy has the opposite power. It can bind, it can weaken, it can slowly destroy. This is why it is so important to understand the nature of witchcraft. If we believe it is only an external force performed by others, then we remain blind to how it enters. But if we recognize it as energy manipulation, then we begin to see how it works in silence, how it hides behind circumstances, and how it creeps into the cracks of our lives when we are unprepared. Witchcraft rarely announces itself openly. It does not always look like a curse being spoken. More often, it looks like a string of failures, unexplained tension between loved ones, or a heavy weight pressing down on your spirit when nothing in the outer world seems to justify it. The greatest danger is not in its visible forms, but in its invisible influence. It thrives in the shadows of the mind, where doubt, fear, and confusion already exist. Think about it: when your mind is clear, when your heart is stable, when your breath flows calmly, no external influence can truly shake you. But when the mind is restless, when emotions are chaotic, when fear begins to dominate your decisions, that is when this destructive energy finds a way in. Witchcraft does not always need a ritual. Sometimes, it is simply the concentrated negativity of others, directed like an arrow at your life. Understanding this shifts the way you respond to it. You stop fearing the symbols, the words, the outward appearances, and you start recognizing that the real battle is happening inside. The moment you know that witchcraft is just energy, you also know that it cannot exist independently. Energy needs a receiver. Just as a radio must be tuned to a frequency to receive a signal, so too must the human mind and heart be tuned in a certain way to absorb the energy that is sent. If you are aligned, if you are steady, if you are present, then that signal has nowhere to land. It passes you by powerless, like wind blowing against a mountain. So the first step is awareness. See witchcraft for what it is: an attempt to bend the natural flow of energy against you. Once you understand this, the fear begins to dissolve, and the strength begins to rise. Because when you see clearly, you are no longer a victim of the unseen. You are the one who decides which energies are allowed to touch your life, and which are not. Witchcraft rarely arrives with loud noises or dramatic events that make it obvious. Instead, it slips quietly into the fabric of daily life, weaving itself into situations so naturally that most people never recognize its presence. This is why it is so dangerous. Because while you are looking for a clear sign, it is already working silently behind the curtain. Think about how water can carve deep valleys into stone. It doesn't happen in one night, it happens slowly, drop by drop, with such patience that by the time the stone realizes what has happened, the shape has already been changed forever. Witchcraft functions in much the same way. It often begins with something small, something you could easily dismiss. Perhaps you notice an unusual heaviness when you wake up in the morning, or you feel drained after being around certain people, even when nothing is spoken aloud. Perhaps your relationships begin to feel strained, arguments arise from the smallest misunderstandings, or financial opportunities that once came easily begin to vanish without explanation. On their own, these may appear to be normal fluctuations of life. But when they repeat consistently, when the sense of misfortune seems to follow you regardless of what you do, you must ask yourself if something deeper is at work. The destructive nature of witchcraft lies not only in the events it influences, but in the way it shapes your inner state. You begin to question yourself. Doubt creeps in. You start to believe that maybe you are cursed, maybe you are unlucky, maybe life is always going to turn against you. And once these thoughts begin to take root, the energy grows even stronger, because your own mind becomes a co-creator of the very suffering that was planted from outside. It is like planting a seed of poison in fertile soil. The more attention and energy you give to it, the faster it spreads, until you feel surrounded by its effects. This is why witchcraft is often described as stealing life. It does not always take in dramatic, visible ways. Instead, it slowly erodes your vitality, your hope, your courage to move forward. A person under its influence may find themselves avoiding people they once loved, abandoning projects they once cared about, or living in a constant state of fear. The destruction happens not because something powerful has been thrown at you, but because you unknowingly allow it to drain you drop by drop. But just as it seeps in quietly, the way to break it is also subtle. It requires awareness, presence, and the refusal to let external energies dictate the quality of your life. The moment you begin to see how it operates, not loudly, but silently, not all at once, but slowly, you already weaken its hold. For when you shine light on what hides in the dark, its power begins to fade. The truth is, no matter how strong or dangerous external forces may appear, they cannot touch you unless there is an opening. And that opening is almost always found in the state of the mind. A mind that is restless, scattered, or consumed by fear becomes like a door left unlocked in the middle of the night. It is not the darkness outside that creates the danger, but the fact that the door has been left wide open for anything to enter. In the same way, an unprotected mind becomes the easiest target for witchcraft because it has lost the clarity to guard itself. When your thoughts are constantly racing, when emotions are left unchecked, when your attention is fragmented by distractions, you lose the natural armor that a steady mind provides. You may not realize it, but each worry, each fear, each moment of doubt creates a vibration within you. These vibrations either strengthen your field of energy or weaken it. A disciplined mind generates stability, much like a flame that burns steadily without being shaken by the wind. But an undisciplined mind flickers wildly, making it easy for even the smallest breeze to disturb it. That is where external forces can enter. Fear is perhaps the greatest weakness. When fear is present, you unconsciously allow energies to dominate you. Instead of directing your thoughts, you surrender them to an imagined outcome, giving away your inner authority. Witchcraft feeds on this very state because fear amplifies its effects. The more you fear what could happen, the more you attract the experience of that fear. It is not just that something external is working against you. It is that your own energy begins to cooperate with it, unknowingly reinforcing the very chains you are trying to break. Another weakness is distraction. In today's world, most people are not present. Their minds are constantly jumping between past regrets and future worries. This leaves them empty in the present moment, and that emptiness becomes fertile ground for external influences to plant their seeds. If you are not fully in command of your attention, someone or something else will command it for you. Witchcraft does not always need great power, it only needs an unfocused mind that fails to recognize what is happening. But when your mind is aligned, when your thoughts are clear, when your attention is centered, you naturally close the door to these influences. The unprotected mind may be vulnerable, but the disciplined mind is untouchable. It becomes a fortress, not through force, but through presence and stability. And that is why the state of your mind is not just important, it is everything. Because once your mind is steady, no external energy, no matter how strong, can enter and take control of your life. When most people feel the weight of witchcraft or any negative force, their first instinct is to look for protection outside of themselves. They may search for objects, rituals, or even other people who can shield them. But the truth is, the most powerful shield you will ever have is already within you. It is the natural alignment of body, mind, and spirit. When these three are in harmony, your presence itself becomes a wall that no external energy can penetrate. Think about the times in your life when you have felt completely whole. In those moments, your breath was calm, your thoughts were clear, and your heart was steady. Even if difficulties surrounded you, there was a sense of balance inside that could not be shaken. That state of alignment is not something rare or mystical. It is your natural state when you live with awareness. But because of distractions, stress, and fear, most people lose this alignment and live in fragments. The body moves in one direction, the mind in another, and the spirit becomes forgotten. This fragmentation weakens the field around you, and it is in this weakness that witchcraft finds a way to act. Breath is one of the simplest and most direct ways to return to alignment. When you control your breathing, you control your state of being. Deep, steady breaths bring the body back to calm, anchor the mind to the present, and allow the spirit to reconnect with clarity. Every inhale and exhale is like resetting your energy, clearing away the clutter that leaves you open to harmful influences. This is why traditions across the world, from martial arts to meditation, place so much emphasis on breathing, because it is the foundation of alignment. Awareness is the next layer of this shield. When you are aware, truly present in the moment, you stop scattering your energy into the past or future. You are no longer living in memories or fears, but rooted in the only place where life actually happens here and now. Presence is powerful because witchcraft, like all forms of negative energy, thrives on a distracted mind. But when you are fully here, when your awareness fills your body and your surroundings, there is no empty space for external forces to occupy. Discipline completes the alignment. Discipline does not mean force or control. It means consistency. It means choosing each day to return to balance, to clear the mind, to protect your energy. This daily commitment creates a steady rhythm, and that rhythm becomes your shield. Over time, this inner alignment grows so strong that even if others attempt to disturb you with their energy, it has no effect. It is like throwing stones at a mountain. The mountain remains unmoved, so the real protection has never been outside of you. It is the alignment that lives within, waiting to be cultivated. Because when body, mind, and spirit move as one, you become untouchable. The one secret that can stop witchcraft instantly is presence. Presence may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful states a human being can cultivate. To be present is to gather all of your energy, all of your awareness, and anchor it into this very moment. When you are truly present, your mind is no longer wandering into the fears of tomorrow or the regrets of yesterday. You are not leaking your power into places where it cannot serve you. Instead, all of your strength is here, in your breath, in your body, in your awareness. And in this state, no external energy can bind you, because there is no gap for it to enter. Witchcraft depends on distraction. It thrives when your mind is divided, when your emotions are unsettled, when your attention is scattered across too many places at once. In that condition, you are like a house with open windows on every side, and anything can drift in with the wind. But presence closes those windows. Presence means you are aware of yourself, you are awake, and you are choosing consciously how to direct your energy. It is like turning on the light in a dark room. Immediately the shadows lose their power. Many people underestimate how transformative presence can be. They think of it as something small, like simply paying attention. But presence is more than that. It is mastery over your own energy. The moment you become present, you withdraw your energy from all the places it was scattered. You take it back from the fear of what someone may do to you. You take it back from the thoughts of failure or loss. You take it back from the grip of negative emotions. And in that single act of returning, you become whole again. Wholeness is something witchcraft cannot touch, because it requires fragmentation to survive. Presence is also the doorway to inner power. When you live fully in the now, you stop reacting blindly. Instead of being pulled like a puppet by outside forces, you act from clarity and calmness. This shift is immediate. Even if something negative is directed toward you, your state of presence does not allow it to land. It is like throwing seeds on solid stone. Nothing can take root because the surface does not accept it. The beauty of this secret is that it is always available. You don't need special tools. You don't need complicated rituals. You don't need to wait for the right time. All you need to do is pause, breathe, and return to this moment with your full awareness, again and again, as often as needed. With practice, presence becomes your natural state, and when it does, no form of witchcraft can hold any power over you. Most people, when they sense witchcraft or feel its effects, immediately respond with fear. They see it as a force of pure darkness, something to run from or hide against. But this very reaction is what makes it stronger. Fear feeds it. Avoidance keeps it alive. What if instead of fearing it, you began to see it as a teacher? What if you understood that even in the presence of darkness, there is an invitation for growth, for awakening, for transformation? Witchcraft at its essence is only energy misused. It is intention directed in a harmful way. And energy, no matter how dark, carries a lesson. When someone tries to weaken you, it shows you where you are still weak. When someone tries to disturb your peace, it reveals the places where your peace was not yet unshakable. What seems like an attack is often a mirror, showing you the exact areas where you must grow stronger. Instead of seeing it as a curse, you can choose to see it as training, a test of your awareness, a challenge to refine your spirit. This change of perspective transforms everything. No longer do you live as a victim of unseen forces. You begin to live as a warrior of the unseen, someone who takes every shadow and turns it into fuel. Imagine how powerful you become when nothing outside of you can make you collapse. Imagine how free you feel when even the strongest attempt to bind you only makes you rise higher. This is the gift hidden inside what most people call witchcraft. It forces you to cultivate strength that otherwise you might never have discovered within yourself. It is also important to remember that darkness cannot exist without light. They are two sides of the same reality. Without challenges, there is no growth. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without the experience of being pulled down, there is no realization of how high you can rise. So when witchcraft appears in your life, instead of asking, "Why me?" begin to ask, "What is this teaching me? Where must I grow? How can I use this to expand my spirit rather than shrink it?" That question alone shifts the energy, because you are no longer resisting, you are transforming. In time, you will see that what once brought fear now brings clarity. What once drained you now strengthens you. The same force that was meant to harm you becomes the fire that forges you. This is how darkness is turned into strength. This is how witchcraft loses its power. Not by escaping it, not by fearing it, but by transforming its impact into wisdom, resilience, and unshakable presence. And when you reach that point, nothing outside of you can ever control your destiny again.